shift, the stakes are high. The mag breaks it down, no need to sigh. From EU rules to global news, Reg with Meg, your trusted views.
Welcome to Reg with Meg. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that's on everyone's mind, UDI-DI. Specifically, we're going to uncover the common registration mistakes that can cause significant delays and rework for manufacturers.
That's right. With the mandatory usage deadline fast approaching in 2026, the pressure is on. UDI-DI, the European database on medical devices, is a massive undertaking, and it's easy to stumble if you're not prepared. We're seeing a lot of companies making similar avoidable errors.
Exactly. So to help our listeners navigate this, let's break down these mistakes into the three most common categories. First up, I believe, is insufficient preparation and weak data governance. What does that really mean in practice?
It's the most fundamental issue. Many companies treat UDI-DI registration as a final administrative box-ticking exercise. They see it as the last step in the process, but that's a critical misunderstanding.
So it's not just about uploading a file at the end.
Not at all. UDI-DI readiness is a structured data management activity that spans the entire device lifecycle. It requires clear ownership for every single data element. The problem is that while the necessary data usually exists somewhere within an organization, in technical docs, quality records, or product lifecycle systems, it's rarely structured for UDI-DI submission.
So it's siloed and disorganized. What's a practical way for companies to fix that?
The key is to establish a controlled source of truth for UDI-DI data. This could be a dedicated database or a structured system. This source should include a field-level mapping of every UDI-DI requirement back to the company's internal controlled sources. And critically, you need to assign clear ownership for each field. Without that accountability, things fall through the cracks.
That makes sense. It sounds like a cross-functional effort is non-negotiable.
Absolutely. Regulatory, quality, engineering, even commercial teams need to be involved. Assigning ownership to a single function like regulatory affairs without proper governance is a recipe for inconsistent data and a lot of painful rework down the line.
That RACI chart sounds crucial. Can you give us a tangible example of what happens when that governance is missing? What's a real-world consequence of, say, the engineering team not being properly looped in?
Certainly. Let's say the engineering team changes a critical design feature of a device, something that affects its intended purpose. Without a clear process, they might not realize this change requires a new basic UDI-DI. The regulatory team, unaware of the engineering change, proceeds with the submission with the old data. The result? A non-compliant device on the market, which could lead to a recall, regulatory fines, and a massive loss of trust. It all stems from that initial failure to communicate and assign ownership of the data.
That sounds like a significant organizational challenge. How do you recommend companies approach building a cross-functional team, especially in larger organizations where these departments can be quite siloed?
It's definitely a challenge, but not an insurmountable one. The key is to get executive buy-in from the very beginning. UDI-DI compliance needs to be framed as a business-critical priority, not just a regulatory hurdle. From there, you can establish a dedicated UDI-DI steering committee with representatives from each key function. This committee should be responsible for creating a clear RACI chart that's responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed for every aspect of the UDI-DI process. This eliminates ambiguity and ensures everyone knows their role.
And when that logic needs to be corrected, I imagine it creates a domino effect.
A massive one. Manufacturers have to rework not just the device records in UDI-DI, but also all the associated regulatory documentation, like declarations of conformity and certificates. It creates significant and entirely avoidable delays. Getting that grouping strategy right from the start is paramount.
Okay, that covers preparation. Let's move to the second major category, which is issues with data quality, validation, and business rules. What should companies be watching out for here?
This is where the technical details really matter. UDAMED has very strict technical validation and business rules. A common mistake is focusing only on getting the file to upload successfully, but a successful upload does not confirm that the information is accurate or compliant.
So the system might accept the data, but the data itself could be wrong? Can you give an example?
A perfect example is nomenclature. Many global manufacturers use GMDN codes, but UDAMED relies on EMDN codes. Some companies use automated mapping tools to convert from one to the other, but they do so without a proper regulatory review. This is risky because UDAMED requires the selection of the most specific, lowest-level leaf code. An automated tool might pick a broader category, which isn't compliant.
So human oversight is crucial there. What about legacy devices? They have different rules, right?
They do, and it's a common point of confusion. Legacy devices don't have a basic UDI-DI. Instead, UDAMED assigns them a UDAMED-DI. A practical pitfall is incorrectly assigning the legislative framework, labeling a directive device as a regulation device or vice versa. It's also vital to ensure the correct relationships are maintained between legacy and new regulation device records, especially if they share a UDI-DI.
And before any of this device registration can even happen, the economic operators have to register themselves as actors, correct? Are there common mistakes there too?
Yes, actor registration is the first step, and it can be tricky. A major issue arises when the same legal entity performs multiple roles, for instance, being both the manufacturer and the importer. Depending on the configuration, this might require separate identification numbers, and companies often get this wrong. The best approach is to define and document precisely how these roles will be represented consistently across UDAMED and all controlled regulatory documents.
This brings us to the third and final category, which is particularly relevant for non-EU manufacturers: coordination with the EU Authorized Representative, or EAR.
This is a classic process failure. A non-EU manufacturer goes through the actor registration process, submits their request, and then assumes they're done. They forget that the EU Authorized Representative must digitally log in to UDAMED to accept and verify the mandate. If the EAR isn't informed, that request just sits in a pending state, and the crucial single registration number, or SRN, never gets issued.
So communication is everything. It's not just a legal relationship, but an operational one.
Precisely. The service model with the EU Authorized Rep also matters. Does the EU Authorized Rep simply hold a legal mandate, or do they provide operational support for data submission? The manufacturer needs to clarify who is responsible for data management, review, and submission. Approaching the EU Authorized Rep as a partner rather than a last-minute vendor is the only way to reduce risk and prevent these simple but costly delays.
This has been incredibly insightful. We've covered preparation, data quality, and EU Authorized Rep coordination. To wrap this up, what are the top 3 actionable steps our listeners can take right now to avoid these common UDAMED mistakes?
First, complete a pre-submission data quality review. Before you even think about uploading, conduct a practical review of your key actor data and your device data. Check your legal entity information, role alignment, and your basic UDI-DI grouping logic.
Okay, a thorough internal audit. What's number 2?
Second, coordinate early and often with your EU Authorized Rep. Don't wait until the last minute. Establish a clear communication plan and define your operational roles and responsibilities from the outset.
And the final action?
Third, use a UDAMED Playground. The European Commission provides a fully functional test environment that mirrors the production system. This is an invaluable free resource. Use it to train your team, test your data files, and understand the system's validation rules before you go live. It's the perfect way to identify and fix issues in a no-risk setting.
Excellent advice. Review your data, coordinate with your partners, and practice in the playground. That's our show for this week. A big thank you for breaking down such a complex topic for us. To our listeners, we hope this helps you on your path to UDAMED compliance. Until next time, stay informed and stay compliant. Bye, guys.